You know, there's a word, misdirection, that's used by lay people a lot. It's a magical term. It's a term of art. And the way lay people use it is wrong, because lay people often use it as a synonym for distraction. Like, hey, look over there, do something sneaky here, and then you look back and the trick's done. That doesn't fool anyone. The way we use the word misdirection is kind of a curating of attention, giving the audience a story they can tell themselves that lets them not really know they were distracted. We're going to do a trick right now using misdirection. I'm going to tell you what it is. The trick is the vanishing chicken. There's a chicken in there, we're going to make it disappear. Now, when I say give you a story to tell yourself, it's not some jive-ass story like this is Clucky McCluckface and this is the chicken coop rocket ship to Mars. No, a real story, which is, you know, it's a vanishing chicken. I've told you that.
Yes.
You know we're Penn and Teller. You know we do magic tricks. So as soon as I cover up this chicken, you're telling yourself what you're going to do. You're telling yourself a story. You're making yourself a promise. Because you're promising yourself right now that at no time will you allow your attention...
Oh my goodness.
Misdirection. Now, Jimmy, I want to see how well this works. Do you have the house lights up so I can see people? Yeah, just want to see. Show of hands. How many of you saw the gorilla with the symbols? Should be everyone. It's a goddamn gorilla with symbols. Should be all of you.
Yes,
Good.
yeah.
Now, subset of that, how many of you saw Teller walk out here, cop the chicken, and split? That's almost everyone, too. Now, here's where the misdirection comes in. How many of you, during all of that, saw sneak the gorilla into the cage?
In 2020, while everyone was distracted by the coronavirus pandemic, Parliament gathered and passed the Divorce and Dissolution Act 2020, which will come into effect from autumn 2021. If it was not bad enough that divorce was already permitted in England, now the Divorce and Dissolution Act allows a married couple to divorce without assigning any fault to either spouse. If both spouses desire the divorce, then it can be completed online within 6 months. But if only one spouse is requesting the divorce, then it must go through a system of court hearings. So long as the spouse requesting the divorce provides a written declaration stating that the marriage has broken down irretrievably, then the other spouse cannot legally object and will be divorced against their will. This new act has come about as a result of the recent Owens v Owens case, during which the Supreme Court recommended a review of the current divorce law, because while it was legal to refuse the divorce, it left Mrs. Owens trapped in a loveless marriage, and so while this new act has prevented one spouse from being trapped in a so-called loveless marriage, it is condemning the other to a divorce against their will.
Virtually everyone agrees that marriage is good and divorce is bad. But that hasn't stopped the government trying to make divorce much easier. The Divorce, Dissolution and Separation Bill would allow a husband or wife to divorce their spouse in 6 months without having to give a reason. Under existing divorce law, facts must be proven to show that a marriage has broken down irretrievably. The facts could include adultery, unreasonable behaviour, desertion or extended separation. But this new bill would require a court to take an applicant's statement that the marriage has broken down as conclusive evidence. No actual evidence is required. No facts, no reason, just a unilateral demand for divorce. It's hardly surprising that when the government asked the public what they thought of this brave new world, 83% were opposed to uncontested divorce. Consider this. If we think that marriage is important, then we shouldn't be making it easier to get out of your marriage than it is to get out of your mobile phone contract. It's a basic matter of justice. If you want to end the most significant commitment of your entire life, you ought to be required to give some reasons. Now, it's just wrong to allow people to simply resign from their marriages. Marriage has already been drastically changed. This legislation goes further and abolishes all differences in divorce between traditional marriage and same-sex marriage. No-fault divorce will inevitably lead to more divorces. More divorce is not in the best interest of this nation. This law turns divorce into an accelerating conveyor belt, trashing marriage altogether. Government ministers claim that they want to end the blame game. Now, to do that, they're changing 100% of the divorce law, but only a little over half the divorces are filed on blame, or indeed on fault. That means tens of thousands of couples will now be rushed through their divorces instead of having an opportunity to reconcile. The history of divorce reform in England and Wales clearly shows that liberalising divorce law promotes divorce. The Divorce Law Reform Act of 1969 came into force in 1971. Now what we see is that the number of divorces doubled in just 2 years, from just under 60,000 in 1970 to nearly 120,000 in 1972. And by 1980, there were 148,000 divorces. Now that's a 150% increase in just 10 years. It's going to make divorce much more widespread. Studies in the United States have confirmed that no-fault divorce laws are associated with higher divorce levels. For instance, a 1998 study of the impact of no-fault divorce in the United States concluded that it was responsible for 17% of the rise in divorce rates between 1968 and 1988. And in 2006, a study focusing on Europe estimated that divorce law reform was responsible for about 20% of the increase in divorce rates in Europe between 1960 and 2002. The 6-month requirement is already too short, and itself may not survive for long. The bill gives the government power to change the time period by ministerial order, but only insofar as they can make it shorter. Now this suggests that the real agenda is to make divorce as quick as possible.
Has our Parliament not read Matthew chapter 19, verses 3 to 9, which state, "The Pharisees also came unto him, tempting him, and saying unto him, Is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? And he answered and said unto them, Have ye not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, For this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh. Wherefore they are no more twain, but one flesh. What therefore God hath joined together, let not man put asunder. They say unto him, Why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorcement, and to put her away? He saith unto them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your wives, but from the beginning it was not so. And I say unto you, Whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery. And whoso marrieth her which is put away doth commit adultery.